Most people think they're unique, but after this, you'll see the truth. They're not living, they're looping, and you'll become the stillness that maps the madness. Before we begin, let me tell you what you're stepping into. This video is a 4-part breakdown of human behavior. If you watch it completely, you'll leave with the ability to decode people's patterns and predict their behavior with scary accuracy. That's how real intelligence operates. Let me give you a truth most people will never hear. Not because it's too complex, but because it's too uncomfortable. People are not as unique as they pretend to be. Strip away the image, the voice, the words, and what you find underneath is a program, a behavioral loop, a predictable sequence of reactions shaped by fear, ego, and past wounds. Most don't live. They repeat. They run from discomfort the same way. They seek validation the same way. They lash out the same way. And every time they think they're choosing, they're just following the path of least resistance. The familiar loop there. Nervous system trusts more than freedom. You think you're talking to a person. You're not. You're talking to a pattern. And if you can learn to read that pattern, you gain a power 99% of people will never understand. Because once you decode someone's loop, you can predict not just what they'll say, but what they'll crave, what they'll hide, what they'll break under. This is where real power begins. Not in domination, not in persuasion, but in detection. Start paying attention. Watch how quickly someone needs to speak in silence. Watch how uncomfortable they get when they're not the center. Watch how they brag, perform, apologize, or explain just to avoid being misunderstood, unseen, or disliked. That's not personality. That's emotional survival code. It's been with them for years, maybe decades. They don't even know it's running, but you will. And when you do, they become readable, mapeable, predictable. You'll stop being caught off guard because nothing they do will surprise you anymore. Let me show you how to spot it. There's always a trigger, a word, a look, a rejection, a delay, a shift in energy, and the loop ignites. They get loud, they shut down, they talk faster, they change the subject, they attack, retreat, or perform every single time. That's the first crack in their armor. The loop always ends the same way. They look for attention. They demand control. They retreat into silence. They seek comfort. They push someone away before they get hurt. If they do it once, observe. If they do it twice, pay attention. If they do it 3 times, you've got a confirmed pattern. Now you can anticipate the end before the conversation even begins. Want to see the raw loop beneath the mask? Apply friction. Say no. Hold eye contact. Delay your reply. Break their rhythm. They'll panic because their safety system, the loop, is being disrupted. That's when you see the real behavior. That's when the truth leaks out. This is the part no one teaches. You don't gain power by being louder. You gain it by being calmer. While you read people like open books, most will never reach this level. They're too addicted to reacting, too afraid of silence, too trapped in their own loops, to ever observe someone else's. But not you. You're not here to blend in. You're here to understand, to dominate, not with force, but with awareness. Because when you stop reacting and start decoding, you rise above the emotional battlefield. They get flustered. You get clearer. They stumble into the same mistakes you saw them coming. They think they're hiding. You already mapped their mask. That's the advantage of seeing humans as loops. So, next time you meet someone new, don't get impressed by their charm. Don't be fooled by their confidence or distracted by their appearance. Watch the sequence. Where do they speed up? Where do they need to be? Right? What are they avoiding? How do they reclaim control? Every person is a system, and every system runs a loop. Your job, detect it before they know you've seen it. That's when the real power begins. When you're no longer reacting to people, you're predicting them. And once you can predict someone, you can lead them, disarm them, or walk away before the storm even starts. Because in the world of psychological warfare, the one who sees the pattern first writes the outcome. You've learned how to detect the loop, but now we take it deeper. Because it's not enough to notice behavior. You must recognize the pattern, the cycle. They live inside the code. They can't escape. Every human being runs on a loop. It's not random. It's not chaotic. It's scripted. You just haven't been trained to see it. Until now, think of people like a machine. Input, trigger, process, emotional loop, output, reaction. They get rejected. The same story plays in their head. They feel ignored. Same words, same tone, same emotional spiral. It doesn't matter who's in front of them. It doesn't matter what's happening. The loop overrides the moment. They don't respond to you. They respond to their past projected onto you. You're just the screen. Their mind is the projector. And the film hasn't changed in years. Your power is this. While they run their loop, you're tracking it. You're no longer playing the game. You're reading it. Let me show you how. You'll recognize this one fast. They're always proving something. Their voice rises slightly when they talk about accomplishments. They name drop. They mirror you too much. They laugh, even when nothing was funny. At first, it feels like kindness, but pay attention. It's not about connection. It's about being liked. They'll never challenge your opinion. They'll never sit in silence. They're addicted to validation. Break the loop. Withdraw attention. Stay silent. Watch the desperation surface. They weren't relating to you. They were feeding a wound. This one shows up in managers, alphas, and manipulators. They interrupt. They over-explain. They get tense when they're not leading the topic. Their tone sharpens when things don't go their way. They don't want conversation. They want dominance. Let the silence stretch, and you'll watch them squirm. Question their logic, and they'll get hostile. They need control, because inside they feel powerless. You want to break it? Be calm. Be still. Don't compete. And slowly they lose grip. The world is always against them. No one understands. They're always betrayed, always exhausted, always trying their best. At first, you'll feel empathy, but look again. They weaponize helplessness to control sympathy. It's not honesty. It's emotional blackmail. They use guilt as leverage. Break the loop by asking one question. What did you choose in that situation? Watch them freeze. They've never looked at themselves. They've only ever looked for someone to blame. They always have drama. Their life is a storm. They're late, overwhelmed, reactive, but it's never their fault. They create confusion because clarity terrifies them. Order would force them to take responsibility. They'll overshare. They'll trauma dump. They'll pull you in, then punish you for not fixing it. You want to break it? Stay still. Don't react. Don't solve anything. Watch them spiral without your energy to feed on. You've just interrupted the emotional food supply. Now listen carefully. Most people run one dominant loop, but under stress the second loop appears. That's the hidden one, the one they don't show to strangers. The calm leader becomes the scared child. The confident seducer becomes the clingy mess. The tough friend becomes the guilt tripper. Pressure reveals pattern. So apply pressure gently, subtly, and the mask falls. Once you recognize the loop, you gain two things. One, psychological protection. They can't trap you emotionally anymore. You see the game before it begins. Two, predictive power. You know what they'll do before they do it. You don't guess, you calculate. That's control. That's leverage. That's the game beneath the game. So, next time someone is talking to you, don't listen to the words. Track the rhythm. Trace the reaction. Watch what always repeats. Because if they do it more than twice, it's not random. It's code. And once you can see someone's loop, you can either walk away from their chaos or use it to control the outcome of every interaction. That's not manipulation. That's strategic awareness. By the way, if this message is cutting deeper than expected good, that means you're ready. Because everything you're hearing right now, this is just one page from a much bigger book. The full transformation. It's already waiting for you in the top. Plummet. The Whisperer's Power Bundle. Every ebook, every audiobook, every future release unlocked. Dark psychology, ruthless intelligence, emotional mastery, and complete self-control frameworks you won't find anywhere else. If you're done scrolling through surface-level advice and you want real tactical power, then check the top comment. It's waiting. You've seen the loop. You've recognized the pattern. Now it's time to take the next step, prediction. Because once you know someone's pattern, you no longer need to guess what they'll say next. You already know. You can predict their emotions, their behavior, and their next move with terrifying precision. And when you can do that, you don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to chase. You don't even need to defend yourself. You control the interaction without ever revealing that you're in control. That's what makes this dangerous. Not loud dominance, but quiet psychological warfare. Here's the key. Emotion is not random. It's programmable. The same situation doesn't create the same reaction in everyone. But for each person, there is a formula, a predictable emotional sequence. Once you've identified their loop, you can start to simulate what happens if I go silent, what happens if I praise them, then pull away. What if I disagree? Calmly? What if I delay attention or break rapport? What if I give them everything they want, then nothing? You're no longer interacting. You're testing their code. And when you do it correctly, something terrifying happens. You can make them reveal their true self without touching them, without arguing, without even raising your voice. Let me show you how. If someone is running an approval loop, They need your reaction. Don't give it to them. Stay flat, neutral, uninterested. Watch how they try to earn it. Watch how they overshare, overperform, overcompensate. You just expose the addiction. Now you know how to control the supply. That's emotional leverage. This is where it gets darker. Give them what they crave. Approval, attention, control, admiration. Then, take it away gently without explanation. They'll chase it. They'll beg for it. They'll become unbalanced, trying to get back to that emotional high. And in that desperation, they expose everything. Their insecurity, their fear, their dependency. You didn't manipulate. You revealed what was already broken. You didn't break them. You let their loop do it for you. This is advanced. You already know what their loop is. Now you trigger it on purpose, but not to hurt, to observe. You challenge the control freak. You ignore the attention seeker. You question the victim. And then you watch what happens. If they lash out, withdraw, perform, or overcompensate, you've confirmed the prediction. Now the power is in your hands. Because once someone becomes predictable, they become manageable. You know how they'll react. You know what they'll do under stress. You know what they'll crave when they're insecure. That's how you get 3 moves ahead. Let me make something clear. This isn't about being cold. This is about staying conscious. Most people walk into conversations hoping to be liked. You walk in with a mental simulation already running. They're emotionally naked. You're covered in armor. They're guessing. You're calculating. That's the difference between being manipulated and being the one who sees through the mask. Let's talk application. In business, you read the client's loop. Do they crave control? Let them talk. Do they want reassurance? Give it, then pause. They'll reveal their hand. In dating, you predict their testing pattern. Do they create jealousy? Withdraw. Attention? Do they chase validation? Stay emotionally calm. Suddenly you're the mystery they can't figure out. In friendship or conflict, you see who they become under pressure. Do they guilt you? Do they explode? Do they disappear? Now, you're not taking anything personally. You're watching the loop operate like a machine. And here's the most brutal truth of all. Most people don't want love. They want their loop satisfied. They're not looking for connection. They're looking for a drug, a feeling, a repeat emotional hit. They know how to survive. And you're no longer their supplier. You're the one watching from above, predicting, testing, deciding. That's real control. Not over them, but over the outcome. Because when you can predict someone, you don't chase, fight, or defend. You lead, you exit, or you dominate without lifting a finger. You've read the loop. You've predicted the reaction. Now there's only one question left. What do you do with that power? Because understanding someone's pattern is only the beginning. Mastery is about choosing your response with ruthless precision. Most people are pulled into the loop. They argue with it. They fix it. They try to be liked by it. But you've evolved beyond that. Weakness. You don't react. You decide. And there are only 3 options when you see the pattern clearly. Influence, redirect, or exit. Let's break each one down. Steer the loop without being detected. This is the most subtle and most dangerous play. When you choose to influence someone's loop, you're not trying to destroy them. You're not confronting them head-on. You're quietly steering the direction of their behavior without ever being seen as the one doing. You become the hidden lever behind their reactions. If someone craves control, give them the illusion of it, while you plant the decision in their head. If they seek validation, feed them just enough attention to keep them following you. If they operate from guilt, reverse it. I just didn't want to burden you. Now they'll chase your approval. You didn't force anything. You simply tilted their loop in your favor. And because you know their pattern, every move they make becomes predictable. Influence becomes effortless. You're not pushing. You're guiding from behind the curtain. That's not manipulation. That's emotional chess. Sometimes you don't want to influence. You want to shift them, change the direction of their loop, without humiliating or exposing it. This is what quiet leaders, high-level negotiators, and emotional tacticians do. You meet a person stuck in a toxic story. They're not evil. They're just unconscious. But their loop is dragging the entire room down. Here's how you redirect. You don't tell them they're broken. You don't confront the story directly. You introduce a better story and pull their attention toward it. Example, they say, "People always let me down." You say, "Maybe that's why you're built strong enough to lead alone." First, they say, "I can never trust anyone." You say, "Trust isn't given. It's chosen one step at a time. You just haven't seen the right one yet." You shift the lens they're using, and with it, the entire loop begins to lose power. It's like redirecting a storm. No force, no argument, just presence and precision. This is the hardest one for most because it means walking away from the need to be understood, to fix, to be like, to stay. Sometimes the loop is too deep, too loud, and the person doesn't want to be seen. They want to stay blind. You've studied them. You've predicted them. And now you realize you don't want to play the game anymore. So, you exit. Not with drama, not with revenge, with silence. The exit is what makes you powerful, because most people stay too long in broken dynamics out of guilt or ego. But when you can leave calmly without explaining, proving, or defending, you become unreadable. You break the loop by refusing to participate in it. And nothing scares a pattern more than the person who can't be pulled in anymore. Here's what separates men who get played from men who stay in control. They react. You choose. And that choice is what makes you rare. Because when you choose your response with full awareness, you're no longer a participant in their story. You become the author of your own. Let me say this clearly. You don't need to dominate every person you meet. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to fix them. You simply need to see the pattern and decide, is this loop useful to me? Is it influenceable? Is it redirectable? Or is it a trap I need to walk away from? That decision made in calm silence is how dangerous men rise above emotional warfare, because they're not fighting for validation. They're watching, calculating, and deciding in a language most people can't even hear. And in that moment, you become untouchable. You've seen behind the curtain now. You've tracked the loop. You've mapped the pattern. You've predicted the emotional storm before it ever hit. You've learned the four-part algorithm that lets you read anyone not just in theory, but in real time. And now you hold a weapon, a mental framework so sharp it cuts through masks, through lies, through manipulation. But like every weapon, it can be used for power or for destruction. And that choice, it won't be made in public. It will be made in silence, in the moments when you see someone's weakness and decide what to do with it. Remember, you can influence, you can redirect, you can walk away. But the minute you react emotionally, you give the power back. So stay still, stay cold, stay aware. Because the man who can see the pattern and not get pulled into it is the one they fear. If this opened your mind, don't scroll past. Like the video, comment below. I see the pattern. Subscribe if you're ready to operate in a realm most people can't even see. And if you're ready to run deeper algorithms on yourself, check the pinned comment. There's a vault waiting for you, packed with the next level tools for cold logic, emotional immunity, and psychological warfare. This is not self-help. This is self-command. Because the world doesn't need more reactive people trying to be like. It needs fewer men trapped in loops and more men who see the code, break the game, and build their own. Now that you see it, run the algorithm or be run by someone who already is. Welcome to the hidden